Vi got sådan på sådan southern accent hele vejen igen, men ikke? Hi and welcome to
Hi and welcome to the... No, jeg kan ikke that does not work. So, hi and welcome to another episode of the Getting Things Done podcast from Vital Learning. I am, as always, Morten Røvik, and as always, I'm here with my good friend and colleague Lars Henriksen. Privet, Lars.
Privet, Morten. Good to see you as always, and as always, good to be with our listeners and viewers out there. We always start off with a quick reminder of the purpose of the podcast, which is to help you learn GTD or become even better GTDers. We hope that today's episode supports you in that. If you're new to GTD, we always recommend you go back and listen to the first episodes of the audio version of the podcast, episodes 1 through 6, which cover the 5 steps, the basics of GTD. Today's episode number is number 139, and it's titled Removing Friction in Your GTD Systems.
It is, and it's part of my ideas of what did I learn for doing GTD in 20 years. I have, 22, what do you call it? Is it called a decade in English when you have, that's century? No.
2 decades.
2 decades.
I said centuries, then
100 years. That's a little more.
You look great, Morten, if you're...
I'm still kicking around. That will be cool. No, okay.
200.
So
okay.
2 decades of GTD practice. What did I learn? And I'm trying to, we made a series of this, and hopefully it is beneficial for you to pick up on what Lars and I've learned. Becoming a little, removing friction in your GTD system is really something that's important, and you have to identify them. And they can be both technical, but it can also be emotional. So I'm just saying that you can remove emotional friction in your system as well. So in this episode, I've created an idea that we can just use as a starting point. 2 different parts of this would be your GTD system. That is your I divide that in your belief system, your behaviors, and your list and calendars. So that's your GTD system. And then we talk about technology, how to remove friction in your everyday life by using technology. And I just want to say that, okay, we are talking about your lists and your belief systems and technology at the same time, which means that, of course, technology will be much more interesting for you to look at, but I would really recommend you follow along when we talk about the others as well, because they will drive your GTD, learning GTD and getting good at this. So where should we start? We should start at we keep the technology at the end. Lars, is that okay for you? So that we
that sounds good, and I like the way you phrased that. So the way when we do this in the pre-show, we talk about it. In this case, Morten kindly comes up with the topics as part of this 20 years with GTD, and then I get a chance to sit here and prep a bit as well. And that's kind of the same approach that I took, or at least that we look at tools and we look at process. So I think that's sort of the headline that matches with yours. So let's, a fool with a tool is still a fool. With that in mind, let's go for the, let's learn how to use the tool. And let's focus on that before we focus on the tool. I think that's a good approach.
Yeah, thank you. And one of the things that the reason I'm putting this, before everything, is because I've been doing this coaching bit for a long time, and I've been doing with a lot of people. I lost count around 150, 60 people, and now I am closer to 200. I think that I've coached, one of the things that I've seen come up again, that's kind of like it's a hindering for learning and getting good at getting things done, is that your belief system stops you. And what do I mean with that? Well, I mean that many people that I meet have a deep-seated part of their belief system that I am not worth anything. I'm not worth enough that I can take time to learn getting things done. I don't have time. I don't have time in this life to do my weekly review, or I can't do the clarify and organize because other people is more worth than me. And this, in my opinion, is a really negative way to look at your life. And I would highly recommend you have a hard look, look in the mirror and tell yourself, yes, you are worth it. You're worth a great life, and you're also worth taking yourself seriously, taking your needs seriously. And I meet managers on top levels in companies that don't have that inside them. And when we start learning getting things done, we talk often on that. When I feel that they don't take themselves seriously, I probe little gently and ask them, who's the most important person in your life? And that is actually something, if you don't feel that is you, think again. And I mean, think again in the way that look at your life and say, if I can take care of me, can I take care of anyone else? What kind of role model am I to my surroundings, the people around me? If I don't take care of me, if I don't protect myself and the time that I need to do the work that I need to get done. I know this is deep, and I'm going to be gently not throwing this in your face, Lars. But does this make sense to you at all?
Yeah, no, and I really like that. I was just gonna say you went very deep. I thought let's talk about some tools. Have you seen this text expander? And then you just went, no. And I really like that. I completely agree. And I also, as the resident AI hat guy, I think there will be more of this coming in the future. We've touched on this a couple of times. We touched on it in Norway when we met, last month or the month before, whenever it was, talking about this self-worth part and how much it can be linked up to your job, your roles, your tasks. And, looking towards the future and how quickly things are changing right now, I think the value in GTD will remain the same. We'll still have stuff to do, whatever happens now. But for some people, there will be more of a need to have more clarity in the higher horizons. And I think this self-worth question will show up even more prominently going forward. So for those out there, where this might, this may have been a good reminder to investigate that a bit, where we are right now in 2026.
Yeah, I hope so. And that the only reason that I want to talk about it, because I've seen it so many times, stopping people. And I get this feeling when I talk to them is that they want to get good at getting things done, but they can't seem to get started, or they don't take, they don't do their, maybe they don't do their homework, or because I give the people homework, and or they say I will do this, and then they don't, and then I have to. Is it because you don't? Do I need to get fatherly and a little like the principal at school with you? And of course that's not the better to be the person who asks you, do you believe you're worth something? If you think you're worth something, you need to do this. And but it is the first stop. If you don't have this, it can hinder you of getting good at it. But then let's switch gears to your behavior, and that is your GTD system. And behaviors then is the 5 steps of getting things done, and then probably also maybe horizons of focus on a regular basis, maybe using the natural planning model as well. But the 5 steps of getting things done is, how do you remove friction in learning and getting the 5 steps? How would you attack that, Lars? Let's start at capture. How can you make sure that you remove friction when capturing?
Yeah, and it really depends on where you are in your GTD practice. Just like we spoke about in the previous episode about becoming a little better at GTD every day. I think some of the same thinking, or at least those 2 episodes, will go nicely together. I think if I look back at some of the coaching clients that I have, or people that show up in the trainings, when we then reconnect at a later stage, there will be different needs. And if it comes to capturing, and we focus only on the process side of things, for many people, it's that they capture the big and obvious things. So that's what we often see. They'll focus. Some people will only focus on work stuff because we are in the work setting, and that's where they're introduced to GTD. So they'll tend to capture those, but evolving that habit of capturing all the stuff that has your attention. I think that's probably that's valid for all of the 5 steps. That when you zoom out and adhering to the core principles of each of those steps. So if we go back to capturing, then yeah, capturing all the stuff that has your attention as soon as it shows up, instead of whenever you've thought about it eight more times, for example.
And one of the things that I think is worth mentioning here, that the behavior that if you want to remove friction in using GTD and the capture, we go back to the basics also, as mentioned, that it has to be your capture tool should be easily accessible. You should not need to think where is it. It should be very evident for you. So when an idea pops into your head, you should do it straight away. You should not use a lot of thinking on it, and then it should be very easy to use. It should be as frictionless as possible. And people don't, when I say this, people don't believe me that this is important, but it really is. If you don't remove friction for capture, everything else will be, you will regurgitate it. It will come back and it will come back and it will come back. And get it out of your head. Find a way to do that fast and quick. Use pen and paper, always carry that, or use an app on your phone. Get it out of your head as soon as possible, as quickly as possible. And then if we continue with the 5 steps, so clarify is, of course, make sure that you put it in your calendar, maybe making sure that you do really clarify every day in the week, and that you have your weekly review in the calendar could be. And that relates to the episode we've done before, just before this one, called Becoming a Little Better at GTD Every Day. And this is just building your behaviors over time, using the behavior part. Getting things done says that your GTD system is 2 things. It's your behaviors, and it is the system itself. So maybe we should shift gears to lists and calendars. So how can you remove friction using your list and calendar, Lars? What is your best advice there?
So I think I would sort of start by taking a step back and just zooming in, because we spoke about the process, ensuring that you capture stuff when it has your attention, ensuring that you clarify clearly, consistency, sufficiently with all the stuff that shows up, ensuring that you use the right list for the right stuff, taking that time to do the weekly review, using the system to decide what you engage in. But I think when it comes to tools, some people out there will be quite experienced GTDers, and as we talk about friction, I'm reminding myself of a number of former coaching clients where this has really been a focus point, that they were already fairly good at GTD already when we met. And then as we had those virtual check-ins over time, friction was really one of the key words for them to keep on their radar, see where am I getting stuck. And that could be in the process, or it could be in the tools that we dive into. But I think overall, if we take a step back and really, people will tend to have some tools when they meet GTD, or they'll pick one and they'll run with that, which is a good start. But notice when life changes in some way. Notice when your job changes, you change a new company, new role, technology changes in some kind of way, that you just reflect on the suite of tools that you have to match what you actually need. Again, I'll mention AI, of course, as well in this. Perhaps this is a time, most people, I think most of our listeners will do this as part of a yearly episode that we do, where we talk about the tools that we use, the yearly tools check-in, I think we call it. But perhaps this is sort of around a halfway mid-year review to make sure that you actually have the tools that you need, and perhaps something showed up, something changed that would trigger you to get new tools for one or more parts of your GTD system.
Yes. And I do agree with you. And in addition to that, I would just say that your lists and calendars needs to be readily available for you. And one of the things that I personally do is that I make it easy for myself to start in the right end. So for example, we talked about in the previous episode, becoming a little better at GTD every day, is that making sure that you have, for example, you have a routine on how you start and close your day. That is also an idea that, you know, that's part of also of your behavior, but you will then be using your list and your calendar to do that. And it is a good idea to make sure that you look at how, for example, if your desktop is cluttered, and maybe you don't think about that, but if it is, it's probably not serving you right, because it is clutter, and clutter pulls on your attention. So clean up the desktop of your computer. If you're using like a Mac, you can make shortcuts that opens your calendar, opens your lists in the way that you want them to make sure that you're ready for the day, so that when you do your trying to build your habits here, your lists and your calendars are easily and readily available to you. So that would be my closing words on your GTD system. And are you ready to move on to technology, Lars?
Yeah. Let's dive in.
The first tool that kind of made a lot of sense to me and still does is some kind of text expander tool to remove friction, so that you save money and time in the future, and by reusing specific snippets of text that you need to, or you want to have. And I know that we both have been using Text Expander at some point, Lars, and the Text Expander is, I think it is now also a PC app, not only a Mac only app. I don't remember, but I can look at that. When you tell us about, because you have an old one called A-Text, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, and I just looked it up before we started, and I must have bought this back in 2016. At least I see references in emails with coaching client from 2017. But yeah, it's a very simple system. It's very straightforward. I think when we've spoken about this over the years, it's always been the case that you're stuck with Text Expander, which turned, I think, into a subscription model, which A-Text has as well. But I bought it way back when, like 10 years ago. So I still keep that with me. I still install it on every new machine I get, and I have those same kind of shortcuts. And it's one of those things that you might struggle to notice the friction, but what it does, perhaps we should be clear on that, is when you find yourself repeatedly writing the same things, then you can create a small snippet to help you then not have to write out that whole sentence. It could be as simple as your name or your email address, which are of course common for many of us to fill out. You bought something online. Here's my name, here's my first name, last name, address, email address, phone number, and those will, instead of having to write all that stuff out, just has a simple shortcut that you type out. So a combination of letters or symbols on your keyboard. So for me, instead of writing my name, I write semicolon NM, and then it just replaces that with my name. So it's very simple, very straightforward, but it can also be for things that you don't use as frequently, that you don't remember. So for me, in my case, it's the company ID, for example. I don't remember that. Maybe you remember yours, but of course I do need to write that. Yeah, so of course you do need to write that sometimes if you're in a situation like Morten and myself. So it's nice to just have that quick snippet. Or the last thing that I use it for these days is just I think I've mentioned this before, but I have this idea of I want to keep email. Some people like to use email as chat. That can be fine. I like to use it old school as email, meaning I'll say hi and I'll say the name, and I may even, I hope you had a nice weekend, or if we're on Fridays, have a great weekend. Those kind of I don't know what we call them, politeness, I would call them,
Yeah.
that I want to have in there, but don't want to have to write out every time if I can avoid it. So Lazy Lars can jump right in and just have a snippet with I hope you had a nice weekend, and then that shows up. So for me, it's simple things, and for some of you this may not resonate. Skip this part. For me, there's a small smile on my face when I don't have to write out my whole whole name when I order the new copy of
Me
paper
too.
that we're receiving that just arrived before
Me too.
before we started here.
And I use it more or less like you, and with addresses as well, and I also use them for a text expander for like URLs, so that, for example, VitalLearning.no is VLNO, so just VLNO, and I can easily get to our websites. And one of the things that I'm also using it that's really high value for me is I use it I use a snippet to create new file names. I created a file name, what you call this, mini methodology. I don't know what you call it really, but it is my way of creating file names to make easily finding things. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes files get lost in my system, and I would like to, get them there fast and easy. So I use that file convention there as well. And more, I don't know if you are doing this, but as a Mac and iOS user, I'm using the text replacement that's native to what you call it in iOS and Mac. I don't know. I call just text replacement. I don't know what it's called in English, but you will find it in system preferences. You can have a look at that, and you can see if you can find it, because it has basically the same thing, is that you will write what you want it to end up with, and there will be a shortcut that you can write. And the good thing about that is available on your Mac and on all your iOS, macOS devices. So it's all shared among devices, which is really cool. And I use that all the time.
I just checked, and I think so mine is in Danish as well, or in so it's also just called text replacement. I think for most people, I think that's what it's called in English. But you can go in there, or you can try it out yourself. I think it by default, if you write OMW, it says on my way, so you can kind of get a feel for what it looks like.
Yeah.
One more thing that I use it for, meeting links. So hey, let's book a meeting. I have a link so you can book a meeting in my calendar. Having that link just as a shortcut is just practical.
And it really makes a lot of sense to do that, because you will save time, and who doesn't want to save time? And being a low reader or a low writer, and I'm low reader, but I'm fairly fast with my hands to write, but it's still time. I want to save time, and it is friction in my system. So by using this kind of technology, it helps. Another thing that we've had as an idea, that's the password managers in the world. So instead of then trying to remember a password and then reusing the same password everywhere, which is highly dangerous. People don't use your same password more than one time, and be really careful. It is a real thing that people lose their password and lose their accounts because they use the same password. So having a password manager is always a good thing. Both Lars and I have a background in technology and IT, and this is it comes from a warm and heartfelt place. So don't forget that. But the good thing is that those are readily available on multiple devices, and for those of you who are in the PC world, maybe you want to look at 1Password, which is cross-platform. It is available everywhere. It's a subscription model. But you also, if you are only in the iOS, macOS system, the Apple sphere, you also have the Password app, which do most of the things that 1Password does. But it has lacked the notes part that's really cool with 1Password. So I kind of like use them in parallel. What do you use, Lars, as a password manager?
Yeah, plain and simple, the Apple built-in one.
Yeah, and it has
Keeping it
become
simple.
really good one. A good, you can share passwords with others, or groups of people, or just single persons that if you need to share a password. The only thing that I really love about using a third-party one is that it has the possibility to, for example, I have my password in the passport in there as the digital encrypted document,
Yeah.
which means that when I travel somewhere, I always have my passport digitally with me, and
Yeah, so you can keep that in Notes. For example, if you were to
you can.
stick in the Apple ecosystem, then
Yeah,
Notes
and
probably would be
you can also in Notes put password on specific notes, so that's also a possibility. You're absolutely right. But now, Lars, we come to your baby, which is how can you remove friction with using technology, using AI? Let me go quickly. First, I'm trying to remove friction by using AI to help me do really boring tasks. Like, for example, not boring, but tax takes a lot of time and energy, and I created a really good, every month I have to do some administration work, which is really boring, and like I have to have a credit card specification that needs to have the different documents, underlying documents, the receipts of the where I've used it, and then I've managed to create in Claude way to handle that. I'm just pointing to just run this month, and it will look at which specification do I have, which do I miss, and then make a list if I don't have the specification that needs to go with a credit card invoice, and then I can go and get them and put them in the folder, and then ask my AI to then, if it is complete now, please create one long PDF of this so I can upload to our accounting software. So that is something that saved me maybe, because I have 2 credit cards, maybe 1.5 hour or at least 1 hour every month, which is, hey, what can I do with 1 hour? I have a lot of things I want to do with 1 hour. So that is have you done something similar, Lars? How do you save time?
Yeah, and I think we're sort of approaching the space where when most people think about friction, it's sort of what am I doing right now that I could improve on, but it's more of sort of what is standing in my way, where I think some of the AI things that we are engaged in is sort of taking it to the next level and speeding some things up that at least wasn't on my sort of friction radar before, if we can call it that. Now I think more recently I've used it for the bookkeeping stuff, so very much in the same space that you have. Even also just outlining the the steps needed for things can sometimes be helpful. So it might not be the case that it would be able to go through everything and make sure that you could get it, that it gets everything done for you. But where do so the accounting company, we have one of the big 4 in the world, but they still just, can you find this report? And I sit there and I look at it, and I've done that for the last 10 years. And I say, I don't know where to find that report. And you would think that they would have a nice checklist for you to go through, but that is not the case. Maybe next year. So for now, just help me find these 4 reports, and it gave me a nice checklist on what I need to go through and gather and send it all back. So it might not even be able to do the work, but at least just outline the steps and knowing where to go to find it has actually been really helpful for me. And then of course just no, I think those are the key ones. And of course for me, I would of course have to mention my my own GTD system as well. Would not be an episode of this podcast in 2026 if I did not also mention the app that I keep building and polish. But it is kind of interesting from the perspective of both the last episode and this episode in becoming a little better at GTD every day. Because I think when you, and again, this is not to draw everyone into building their own, because that probably doesn't make sense, but it's an interesting exercise in really asking you what you want to see. So for example, for me, like you mentioned earlier, we talked about the daily checklist, or just what do I need to see to be able to navigate the day? What do I need to see? Now it's 2 p.m. I need to go pick up the kids in 1 hour. I know there's some important stuff. There's some meetings tomorrow. We have that big project by the end of the month. What do I need to see so I can make the right decision? Because when you sit down and build these things, that's the depth you have to go to, and then there'll be some, let's call them artisanal GTDers out there that will prefer to do all this manually. But part of this exercise for me is to test, so what do I actually want to see, and in what ways can AI help surface some things for me? So from that perspective, it's been rather fun to here are the inboxes, here's the calendar, what's next, what does the rest of the day or the week look like, here are the lists, what have you worked on, here's the stuff from the CRM system that I would only have to go and check separately. So all of that information, just playing around with it. I think there is some stuff that is really technically demanding right now, and not for everyone out there, but for some it'll be an option, and then it'll only get faster, better, more accessible for everyone. So I think this may be something for more of our listeners out there as we get further through 2026 and maybe even 2027.
This is true nerdery, and only for those who feel that they are a nerd. And at the same time, I just want to, Lars are getting a lot of, or at least as I see it, Lars, that you get a lot of value of learning this stuff at the same time as you spend time with it, and it's part of learning. What good can AI do for us? And I'm also tinkering with this. I'm not doing like Lars, a fully fledged GTD system and build that with Claude Code. That's a little way beyond my both interests and scope of what I think I'm capable of. But Lars always tells me, you can ask the AI to, yeah, sure. But the only thing I would recommend for people is, of course, you should be active in learning and understanding at least what AI can do for you, and how does it work, because that's in the future really important, I think. I am not by the people who think that AI will collapse we might see some small bursts of a bubble in the future, but I think that it's here to stay, and it's so useful in so many ways that it can't go away. You can't put the genie back in the bottle, as they say. But one thing that I would like to say, heed, warning, my dear GTD friends, is that this can easily become productivity pornography, which is kind of like a creative way of doing procrastination. I would rather fix my AI than do the work that I need to get done. I'm not saying Lars is doing this, but I'm saying that this is a danger that may lurk in the shadows. Or what, Lars?
I'm staying quiet. No, absolutely. That's the case. And it is, it's a tricky balance, but it's always been the case that people will tinker with their systems. It's always been the case that people, we see this in trainings. I'm sure you do as well. We talk about the clarify step, and we talk about 6 categories being available for you to choose from. So what should we do with this? We talk about the delegation option, and this always leads to a sort of, well, when should I delegate and should I do this? And people, at least the people with the direct reports will often reflect on, well, does that make sense for me? And should I do that, or should I just keep it on my own list because I know how to get it done? It'll be of the right quality. It'll be easier rather than having to engage with the student workers or direct reports or whatever it might be. So it's always a balance, but I'll absolutely recognize that it can really take some time when you start to play around with AI if you're not careful.
Yes. And that's the key word. Be careful and be mindful. Are you having a healthy relationship with your AI? Does it steal your time and energy, or are you gaining time and energy back when using it? That might be a way to phrase it. Okay, so I think now, Lars, at least on my list and end of my list, is that we are finished for today. Do you have
Yeah, I think
something to
so. I
add?
think the only thing at least the only thing for me to sort of wrap up, it's a fun topic, and I'm glad you brought it up because, like I said earlier, it's something that I will tend to mention to a lot of my coaching clients, and it's a great way to trigger then the continual way of improving your own practice, and also noticing that now that, let's say, your organizational system is better, well, then you may need to refresh and ensure that your engage is better because now you can better trust the list. So when you become better at capturing, then you may need to more frequently empty, or you may need to spend more time emptying those ins because now you're better at that. So it's something that is continuous, and it's reinforcing itself as well. So as soon as you tweak something and remove some friction in one area, then notice how it affects the others, because that's part of the fun with GTD.
Yes. I'm just going to tease before we go to the end, Lars, is that the next episode in this series probably is going to be, at least if I get my way, it's going to be called something like this. Areas of focus of GTD is the key to feeling good about your work. And that's a teaser for the next episode. So, but I think that we are ready to close this episode. Can you wrap this puppy up?
I can do that. And we do that by mentioning the summer camp. As always, GTD Summer Camp 2026, June 13 to 14 is the official program, but 99% of people show up on the Friday instead and have a great Friday evening together with all the nice, cool GTDers from around the world. We meet in Denmark. We have fun. We definitely geek out. If that resonated with you, then look and see if you can come join us at the summer camp. We have people from all over the world showing up with various levels of GTD practice, and we geek out on many different topics. As in the program last year, there will be different tracks. We have a new organizing group that comes up with great new ideas. We have some new people joining us on stage and off stage. It'll be a great summer camp, no doubt. Once again, David and Catherine will join us. I think their dogs will too. So that is once again a level up from 2025. So unfortunately, we're out of tickets right now, or at least as of this recording. But if you are thinking of joining us, then there is the option of joining our wait list. I would highly recommend that. I think, fingers crossed, hoping that we can open up for some more. So if you are thinking of that, be sure to send me an email, lars@vitallearning.dk. Morten will be there. I will be there. Great weekend, no doubt. Right, Morten?
Yeah, exactly. And there are people from absolutely all over the world. We've had people from Brazil, we have Hong Kong, we have the US and the whole of Europe. And I don't know of any crowd that's so easygoing and so willing to share and help each other. It's really a cool place to be if you want to learn getting things. And it's affordable. It's not for profit. So, hey, what's not to like? Exactly. What's not for profit is what I'm going to talk about now, which is the masterclass retreat. GTD masterclass retreat twice a year, February and September. Now the first one in September, the beginning of September 2026 is in Holkenheim Castle. And yes, it is a real castle. It is really beautiful surroundings. And it is we chose this because we think that when you need to focus on your higher horizons, which is the the main topic of this retreat is that it helps you putting your life into perspective when you look at walls that are 300 years old. It's kind of make you think. And it is 12 people, 12 participants. Catherine Allen and David Allens are confirmed. David has said he probably will not do coaching this year. He did earlier, but it is tiresome. He's past 80. He has the right, but he will be there and he will hang out with you and share his war stories and have a glass of something with you if you want to talk to him. And Lars and I am there, and there will be one-on-one coaching, group exercises, and it's a lot of fun. And it is really, Lars and I are having a blast when we do this, because we get close to the heart of what's really changing people's lives, which Horizons of Focus has the possibility to do that, and have the possibility to touch your what is your purpose of life. What's your values? What's your principles? What's your vision for your life? And it's really good. So you will find links to everything that we talked about in the show notes. And we hope to hear from you. And you can apply for the Masterclass Retreat. It's an application form. It's not an enlisting form, but because if we don't know you, we would like to talk to you before, just to make sure that we have the right people in the group. And it's the last 2 times that we've done this. It's been fantastic. Really, it's life-changing. Really life-changing. That's the feedback we get. So, okay, good. Hope to see you there. And should I just say what I usually say? Yes, Lars is.
Say it.
Say it. Okay, I will say it. Until next time, stay safe and stay productive. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.